Like Matt said, my name is Isaac Barlow. I'm the CEO and founder of BusyBusy, and it's my privilege to be here today. Today, I understand for the peer mentoring, we are talking about things that educate us as contractors and business owners. So today we're going to be talking about systems and culture. I'm assuming with I read the attendance list when I came here. I'm assuming that this talk's going to be kind of like preaching to the choir. Everybody's probably up on this, but we'll see if the refresher helps anyways. So systems and culture. Want to give you a little bit of background on me and my experience. So I'm 5 years in the technology industry, 5 years developing BusyBusy.com, but why listen to me on construction, right? Well, I actually have 18 years in managing construction businesses, so I have been there, have done that. My passion is all about bringing construction and technology together to create systems. Systems is what it's all about, and in BusyBusy, we're all about success in the construction industry, and systems and culture is your key ingredients to success. So I want to talk about systems just a little bit. We've identified, and this is going to be different for most companies, but these are general systems that you have to have in place. Primary systems in place to run a construction business effectively is planning systems, customer management, estimating, production, growth, employee management, asset management, especially if you manage heavy equipment, accounting, job costing, regulations, and legal. And easy, right? No problem. We have those systems in place. No, I'm joking because I've grown up in this industry, and it is a lot. There is a lot of stuff for us to get on top of, especially depending on the size of your business. If you're not a major corporation, you don't have people in each of those divisions, it can be very difficult to get on top of. So the proof of that, why is it so difficult? Well, consider the survival rate of contractors. You guys are all probably familiar with this. And about when we go into business, we all get excited and we're like, hey, we're going to go into business, we're going to make a ton of money, So year 1, 100 of us start. By year 2, only 81 of us survive. By year 4, 57% of all construction businesses have failed within the first 4 years. And by year 7, we're down to a 70% failure or 30% survival rate. So in BusyBusy, our vision is to combat this. We literally want to stop this trend. This trend goes back as far as the research will bear out for us. So our vision, BusyBusy, is dedicated to creating a world where people have sufficient information to make profitable decisions. Because when we study failure rate, that's exactly what the main ingredient is we lack sufficient information to make good decisions. That's the primary reason for failure. And this ties into our systems and culture. If you want a very profitable business, you will have strong systems and strong culture. And today we're going to focus a little more on the culture side of it, because it's kind of trending in the industry right now. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. Inadequate systems can damage your culture. I want to give you a little story, to kind of illustrate this. So I told you I've grown up in the industry. Back in 2002, anybody familiar with the Harmons on 114th South, 7th East, Harmons grocery store? I had the privilege of doing all the underground pipe work on that project. It was the most effective job we've ever done. The company I was working for back then, we were really proactive and aggressive. I was proactive and aggressive as a crew leader. We motivated our team. We're just killing it on things. We installed pipe faster than I've ever seen people install pipe before. It was the most productive job that we'd ever done. To give you an example, we were motivating our people. We're like, okay, you put in a length of pipe, it's this many minutes. Let's see if we can get down from 13 to 12, down to 11. We were so fast, we called the engineers for sewer staking on that project. They gave us sewer staking. 2 days later, I called them and said, I need the water because that's above the sewer. They said, that's impossible. We just gave you sewer staking. I said, yeah, it's done. I need the water. We were just killing it on this job, right? Sounds like a great story with a happy ending? No, it wasn't a great story with a happy ending. We get done with the whole project, and they're like, you guys suck. You lost $27,000. Like, how the hell could we have lost $27,000? I've never seen a project outperform this project. It was unbelievable. So my nature, I'm a very analytical person. I just can't accept that answer. I had enough experience at the time to know that we were producing at an effective rate. And so I had to push in and find out. And so, of course, I had to evaluate the estimate, all the information, everything that was done. And it was. The system, the whole plan was botched in the beginning. The estimate was botched. Everything was botched for us. If the company I was working for had adequate systems, they'd have said, hey, thank you guys for helping us not lose $100,000 and only lose $27,000 on the project, right? So why do I say inadequate systems can damage your culture? Because culture is my focus today. Consider the attitude of the team that we had. So we have everybody, they're highly motivated, they're highly producing and productive, and then management comes in and says, you guys suck, right? Now, if you have a good system and good culture, you know how to motivate and engage your team. And that's actually what our focus is today. Why is culture important in the construction industry? So I want to confess, before I got into technology, I didn't even consider the word culture. And I don't know how many of you do. You're probably more advanced than me, but I didn't even consider the word culture. By the way, quick disclosure moment. I still own an excavation company. I don't run it anymore, but still own one. So I'm still heavily engaged in the construction industry. It's a small business, 35 employees, and we do an average of 6 to 7 million annual revenue. Primarily, it's our wonderful guinea pig for everything we do in BusyBusy. We inflict all our new systems on them first as we're producing systems. But anyways, why is culture important? It's tremendously important. This is a stat that you're probably all familiar with, the AGC put out a year ago. 86% of construction businesses are struggling to fill positions. Is this true today? Anybody? This is true today. Maybe even more. Have we got slower in the last year? We're all trying to hire, right? And we're having a problem. How many of you saw this coming back in 2008 when we had the Great Recession of 2008? Thank you. You saw it coming, right? Because what happened? We had this Great Recession in 2008. What happened to our workforce? Gone. They got out of there. I have 2 engineers in my office, 2 program engineers. One used to be a roofer and one used to be a carpenter. They went back to school, learned how to program. They now work for BusyBusy. We had a mass exit in the construction industry, and some of the wiser economists at the time predicted this and said, hey, what's going to happen when we eat through all this inventory, all the excess inventory on the market, and we have a general natural supply and demand need? Where are the workers going to be that build our houses for us? Well, we're now facing that. We're hitting that. So construction has a culture issue, and this is trending heavier and heavier, and it's going to keep trending. Like I said, I was out in Denver in October giving the same presentation. They have this problem as much as us, if not more, in Salt Lake City area. It's just incredible how hard it is to find good talent these days. So construction, or having culture in your construction, is more important than ever. What is culture? Culture is a way of thinking, behaving, or working that exists in a place or organization. Culture is important, okay? Why is it important? We want to attract new talent, right? It's incredibly important. If 86% of people are trying to fill positions, so are you. You need to attract talent. Motivate and engage your team. Very important. I talked about the story of Harmon's. It is important. You can make the most money ever by just getting people motivated. Most rare thing on the planet is the human brain. Can you imagine if someone built like an android that was as smart as a human? It'd be worth billions. We got like 7 billion of them on the planet. That we just need to motivate and engage them, right? Okay, keep your people. Keep your people. It's a lot. It costs us a lot of money to train people in and get them to the point that they're experienced and they work for us. So keep them. This is why culture is important. Do we often have destructive cultures in the construction industry, especially? I mean, destructive culture is everywhere, but in construction, we've got it, and we've had it for a long time. And there's a lot of implications behind it. And before I go into this, I want to point out one other thing from 2008. Anybody familiar, and I'm assuming you are, with the other reason that we have a labor shortage right now, a huge labor shortage right now, is because besides the exit, people didn't grow up in construction telling their kids, hey, you should go into construction. Most of the time they're like, hey, you should go learn to program, or you should go, what's that? Yeah, don't go where I went. Go do something else, right? And so the other part of construction culture we have to do is we have to make it a more attractive place to be. I mean, we need to have respectable careers that we go into construction. Otherwise, we're going to keep having this problem that's going to get worse and worse. We've often in construction, I shouldn't say often, historically, we've had a pretty abusive culture. It's a fairly abusive culture, and we need to fix that. So, destructive culture. I'm just going to go through a few words here. You guys tell me if I'm off base on these things that exist in the construction industry, right? Ego. Is ego ever a factor in any of the companies you've ever worked for or thought about? Come on, I know you're laughing, right? Ego, it's kind of a factor in construction. No, it's massive, right? We have super egos we have to deal with. Okay, hostility. Hostility is a common thing in construction. We think, that it's construction, right? Deal with it. We're degrading oftentimes. We're very degrading. This is one of the things that's a big pet peeve for me is we often have, in human relations, it's like a parent-child relationship. We think we're going to treat people like that we're going to command them and demand everything, give them no respect, and that somehow they're going to enjoy coming to work every day. Right? Blame. My story earlier, I talked about that. We get the job done. The first thing office administration says is, you guys suck. I mean, it couldn't have been us. It couldn't have been us that botched the estimate. You guys must have sucked on the production side. So blame before we investigate and figure out what's going on. Fear. Fear of losing their job, fear of, if I'm a high producer for you, I should have no fear of losing my job, right? And to your point, male or female, there should be no fear of ever losing my job. If I'm producing for you, I'm producing for you. Should have fear of losing my job because your ego takes off. And disrespect. Disrespect. These are a lot of the things that create a destructive culture in the construction industry. One of the number one things that people want when they go into the workforce, into business, is to be respected. To be able to go home and talk to their kids and say, I have a good job, I have a good career. And that's also what will create workforce for the future. Just go home and talk about, this is a good job, I have a good career and opportunity. Disrespect is the number one thing. Construction companies often lose employees to the competition, or they become the competition. In that 70% ratio, when I talk about that, new starts, new people starting construction business, who are they? They're typically a tradesman that decide to go out on their own. And if you really want to get down to the demographics of it and their motivation, why they went out on their own, half the time it's because they didn't like where they were working. It was a hostile environment. It sucked. It was terrible. They wanted a better way of life, so they went after it. It normally isn't because they had golden handcuffs where they were working, right? So I have a friend in the construction industry, to illustrate an example of that. Just another company I'm associated with, but he decided to go out in business for himself because he was in a hostile environment. And his boss says, on the way out the door, he's like, you'll never amount to nothing, you'll never compete with me, you'll never, right? You're gonna fail. So he just gave him all the motivation he possibly could, right, to go out there. And then his brother also worked for the same company. He decided, I'm gonna leave and go work for my brother also. And on the way out, the boss was pretty hostile to him too. And this guy, to me, gave one of the best exits I've ever heard of. I mean, I wish every employee that ever quit gave this. He just said, hey, I don't want to leave you hanging. I'm going to leave and go work for my brother, but I'll train in my replacement. I'll work, a month, 6 months, whatever you need to not leave you hanging. You tell me what I can do for you. Because he thought the boss was his friend. The boss always treated him like his friend. And the boss says, I'll tell you what you can do for me. Give me your keys and get the hell out of here. Walk home, a little bit of expletives, right? So now today, him and his brother are a major competitor to this former boss, a major competitor, right? 10 years later, they're a major competitor. So we often create our competition by having a bad culture. And I asked him, I said, did you want to leave? Did you want to go out and start your business? He says, no, we didn't want to leave. He was just such a jerk that I felt like I had to. Interesting, huh? Sometimes we have attitudes where we foster our problems. We create our problems. So let's talk about a productive culture. A culture of consideration where we consider other people, consider their needs. Where people feel a sense of security in their job, in their workplace, where they feel like they have training and opportunity. They have opportunity to grow, to expand. They feel empowered to do their job, right? Understanding, just a little bit of understanding as opposed to always blaming them. So these are basically the opposite words to all the other words I gave you, right? And respect. It is the number one thing. People will come and even take less wages in a company to have more respect. They will take less wages to have more respect because everyone wants to go home and feel respected, not feel like that they're completely abused and hostile in their job. So these are incredibly important. And in my opinion, and I'll show you a little bit more about this is getting more and more important every day. And as the years go on, construction is going to see this more and more because we have a labor shortage. We have a labor and demand problem. And so we're just getting a shift right now where it's not going to be tolerated because of the supply and demand. Every human being wants these three things. Every human being wants this. Approval, acceptance, and appreciation. And whether they'll say it like, your roughest, toughest contractor out there wants these three things, even though there's not a chance in the world he would ever say it, right? But they want it. And if you don't give it, then they'll go somewhere else. Eventually they'll go somewhere else. Culture is all about how you make people feel. Approval and acceptance and appreciation. If you can make them feel that way, they're going to be loyal to you, they're going to stay with your company, they're going to work really hard. If they feel different than that, they're going to leave. Why are they going to leave? Because your neighbor's going to hire them, especially if they're talented. Right? This is a big deal. This is a big deal in the construction industry right now. And like I said at the beginning, I think it's getting worse. I think it's going worse and worse. And we see and we work with contractors all over the nation, and it's getting worse. I can't even believe the opportunities in construction right now. I can't even believe what we're paying people right now. I don't think any of these guys would have gone into computer programming if they'd known what was coming for construction, wage-wise. Jokingly. Construction versus tech. What's the relationship? Because there is a relationship here. I want to show you. Okay? Construction versus technology. The only difference with technology is we're ahead of the curve with construction on this problem. Supply and demand in technology has existed for quite a while. This is our projection for 2020. How many jobs that we need in technology, how many computing jobs, and how many computer science students are going to graduate in that amount of time. We have a shortfall of 1 million computer science jobs that we need to fill in the technology industry. And so we're doing everything we can to possibly motivate, encourage, and direct people to get into technology. Okay? All technology is we went through this before construction. We went through this supply and demand issue before the construction industry did. Because have you talked to people that work in the tech industry? It's like they tell you about the place they work, and it's like we have this great culture and we have this and this and we get treated so amazing. Well, it didn't always used to be that way. Anybody here seen the movie Office Space? Right? This is what tech used to be like. We used to treat engineers like that they were garbage. They were nothing. I mean, they're just nerds. They're just computer nerds. What value do they have? This is what it used to be like, and this is what it's like today. That's Google's new office in Amsterdam. Why? It's all supply and demand. Pretty soon we started figuring out, holy crap, we can't get the work done that we need to get done because we don't have the labor force to do that work. We've got to treat them better. We've got to pay them better. Then after we started throwing lots of money at them, we started realizing, oh, it's not just money, actually. In fact, they just want, to be satisfied in life. They want approval, acceptance, appreciation. They want to feel like they belong to a team. They want to feel fulfilled. All these things, right? We started discovering that it's a quality of life thing. They want to love what they do. I mean, think about how much time you spend at work. Your waking hours, right? Half, maybe way more than half. The difference is this. In the technology world, we can have one person outperform another person by 25 times. We can have a 25x performance, if you can believe that. In manufacturing, they typically say you can get up to 2x performance. I'm sorry, I don't have the statistic on construction, but when you motivate people properly. So if we can make sure to keep their focus because it's intellectual business and take care of all their outside distractions and get them focused, we can often get a 25x on their performance. So it's a big deal. And I know construction can't copy all those things, but what they can do is copy the attitude. It's the attitude of how can we help you, how can we make your place a wonderful place to work, how can we make sure you're fulfilled, you're empowered, you're trained. It's that kind of attitude that we can copy. This is a quote from Rob Campbell, a friend of mine who's the president of Wheeler Machinery. I'm sure everyone here has heard of or knows who Wheeler Machinery is, Wheeler Cat. He says, our employees are giving us the best years of their lives. The least we can do is make it an enjoyable place to work. And they do. They work a long time, and we work the majority of our waking hours, we work. So we can give it an enjoyable place to work. So now that we've talked about how important culture is, and it's so great, and we need it desperately because we're going into this apocalyptic time where we're going to not have any workers. No. How do we establish a good culture? What is the foundation of good culture? The foundation of a strong culture, in our opinion and with the research we do, we think it's trust. The foundation of a good culture is trust. They have to trust you. They have to trust you. Your people have to trust you that you've got their back, to say it in layman's terms. They got to trust you've got their back, that you're going to watch out for them. Okay? How is trust built? How do we build trust within our culture? We have a little graphic we like to show as the stakeholders in an organization. We have our team. This is all the stakeholders, everybody that has a vested interest in the success of your company. We have our team, we have our customers, we have our partners, and we have our owners. Right? And this is in general correct for almost every industry. We call this the culture of consideration. A culture of trust is established when everybody that has a stake in the success of your business knows that the decisions you make have their best interest at heart. You might not always be making a decision that's only for them and ignoring the rest, but they need to know that you're considering their interest. So a culture of consideration. We believe this is the foundation of trust, is to build a culture of consideration where they just trust you. They know you've got their back. Again, it's like, you talk about strong culture, it's like a family. Why do you trust your family so much? You know no matter what, your family has your back. They're going to take care of you. So your people have to know that you're going to take care of them. To achieve maximum profitability, a great culture needs great systems. Okay? And this is part of a great culture. You've got to have great systems because, like I pointed out with my example of Harmon's in the beginning, if you don't, you're just going to have bad information that's going to keep destroying you. So, systems are important. Systems provide sufficient information to make profitable decisions. My pitch to you guys today is just to adopt systems. Go after systems. Your primary systems. Success in the business world in general, but especially in construction, is adopting systems in all these aspects of your business and making sure that you have a firm, strong culture. And in our opinion, success now and going forward is going to be that. So Technology is improving construction systems. That's why I'm in it. I'm passionate about it. That's why I got into technology, because I felt like there were systems lacking that we needed built. And so we were going after that. And it's amazing to me. I mean, I think the whole construction world should have rejoiced when Steve Jobs first introduced the iPhone. Because literally what our problem was is we had a hard time getting mobile information. And now we can get mobile information like crazy. So check your systems. Do your systems support your culture? Do they create an enjoyable workplace? Do they increase profitability? Embracing tech systems can build a better culture. And construction and technology are coming together. And so that's what I want to leave with you, is just, consider culture and embrace systems. I appreciate your time, appreciate the opportunity to present to you here. Thank you.